welcome to another edition of Yankee Championship Bowling from Botwell's Bowling Center in Concord, New Hampshire. I'm Mike Dion along with Dan Murphy. And yes, we will have things straight and everything taken care of this week. It's week number 7 here on the men's singles, and last week we saw an interesting match. We saw Mike Poulin from Hudson winning with a 387, defeating Bruce Young. And this week we have a couple of competitors that Dan is very familiar with.
Right. First, this week, John Maffeo from Goffstown. Last week I inadvertently said Manchester. Close enough. And there you get a good shot of John. Bowls out of the King's Lanes in Manchester. Carries an average of 125. He's got a high single of 185 and a high triple of 464. And he's married, has 3 children, and he's been with us once before. And his opponent this week's from Claremont, New Hampshire, Steve Vadney. And Steve has definitely been with us before. He carries an 125 average, 197 for a high triple, 488 for a high 3. And he does have the lane record here at Botwell's Bowling Center of 491, and that was hit right here on Yankee Championship Bowling. So the numbers are there. Both bowlers have got some impressive stats. Now it's a matter of if they can perform out there in the lanes.
That has to make you feel good knowing he has his high triple here.
Well, yeah, he deserved it. I was here the day he hit it, and it was just immense. It was incredible to watch him bowl that particular day.
Okay, coming up in between our first and second, third strings every week here on Yankee Championship Bowling, we go down to the wheel and try to give away some money. We haven't been successful in the last couple of weeks. We have $53 in the jackpot, and all you have to do is send in a postcard to Yankee Championship Bowling, 8 Commercial Street, Concord, New Hampshire, 03301. We'll be back with our first string right after this. And welcome back to Botwell's Bowling Center. Mike Dion along with Dan Murphy. It's week number 7. And John Maffeo. Did I say it right?
I think it's Maffeo.
Maffeo.
Yes.
And he opens up with a 5.
And almost converts that. It leaves everything, or knocks down everything but that 7-pin.
John is a big guy. And he opens up with a 9. So we told you an average of 125. The father of 3.
He's got his first look at a legitimate spare leave, the 6 and the 10, but, well, boy, he's got a tough piece of wood. Half in the channel and half out. Ball must stay on the lane. And cost him the 10-pin. Nice pinning by John. 19 after 2. Here's our first look at Steve Vadney.
I'm glad to see that you corrected yourself. Steve from Claremont.
Yeah, I also I should correct his high triple here on at the lanes. The lane record 488, not 491.
We've had a few bowlers that bowl out of Sunset Lanes in Claremont.
Yes, yeah.
And Steve opens up with an 8. Both bowlers have an average of 125. Steve likes to compete in softball as well as horseshoes. Rolling his luck here today.
Play softball with horseshoes on. Is that what that means? Spare up in the second for Steve Vadney.
Again, Yankee Championship Bowling is being brought to you by Ken Carpenter Ford at the junction of routes 202 and 9 in Hillsborough. For great service and value, stop by Ken Carpenter Ford. Mark.
Nice, excellent shot by John. Spare up in the third, his first mark. Trying to fill it on lane 19. And make it 7. And 36. No, this piece of wood is Yeah, rolled out of play, and Mike Poulin is going to run down and knock over a few lines. And remove that piece of wood. Careful of the lights, Mike.
What about the jacket? He mentioned that he saw you do it one time.
Well, I do it all the time. I wear a sweater in between 5 boxes, but I had a lot of problems with bursitis at one time, and I got used to wearing it then. It seemed to keep it warm, seemed to benefit. I don't know, maybe it was just psychological. So I've always done it. Let's take a look at that last mark by John Maffeo. Inside, and boy, that went quick. Cluster of 5 pins.
Cleared everything right off the deck.
It really wasn't a cluster either. It was spread all over the place.
Steve Vadney working on a mark. Right side, fills it with a 5. Leads by 4.
4 horsemen, 1, 2, 4, 7, and the 9 pin.
And he's opposite of Mark. And has himself a 10 and a 33.
Early 3-pin lead for John Maffeo of Goffstown, New Hampshire. In the Kings Lanes in Manchester. Kings Lanes also has the CompuScore, like we have here at Boutwell's Bowling Center, and also now Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire, where our state tournament is held. They have put the CompuScore scoring system in.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier.
Oh.
It sure does, doesn't it?
It doesn't.
We better start bringing the computer console up here.
We still have to push the right buttons.
A 9 and a 42 for Steve, who steals by 3 pins.
Oh, boy. Well,
how does Johnny Carson do that?
Yeah, he flicks those pencils. He did a good job. He usually flips it behind him. Well.
Oh, big break now for John and Maffeo.
Off the wall. Oh, right around the 8-pin. Well, it'd be a pretty dull world if you couldn't laugh at yourselves once in a while, and we do kind of kid each other.
Quite often.
Sure.
55 from Maffeo. For the most part, I have to keep looking at the monitor because John is so big that once he releases, I just can't see the pins from my vantage point.
Covers your view. Well, he's looking at the 1, 4, 7, and the 10 pin in the right-hand corner. Gonna play that head pin. I wanted to cut it on either side and have the ball go one way or the other and have the head pin take the rest of them, but it didn't work out. Nice 10 by John. 65 through 6.
Steve Vadney here in string number 1 here on Yankee Championship Bowling is up on lane 20. Tough lead for a mark for Steve.
4-7 on the left with a 3-10. He's going to have to go after the 3-pin. Oh, wow. Everything but the 10.
Exactly what you thought it would do. Nice try by Vadney.
I think that was his only shot of covering the 3-pin. He thought the ball would carry him off the 3 for the 10, but not quite. But 4-pin lead. John.
1 mark.
That's a big ball by Steve Vadney. Everything but the kingpin, the 5.
Chance for Steve to grab the lead.
Gotta hurry.
Left it out.
.61 through 6 for Steve Vadney, and
the lead remains 4. For John Maffeo. John on 20. Right there, big hit. And he scrambles a little bit and sets that wood right in between the 2 pins.
Steve Vadney wearing his sponsored shirt, Sunray Pools of the Claremont area, and Leroy Kelly sponsors Steve on the Pro Tour.
Just an opportunity there and slides by again for a 9.
Gets 74.
Yankee Championship Bowling is being brought to you by Shaw Supermarket. They have great everyday low prices, and they are open 24 hours a day. And while you're there, you can get your Mega Box tickets. John has 1 mark in this first string. Another 9 and an 83 through 8.
Both bowlers getting out slowly. Winner of this match will take on Mike Poulin, winner of last week's show. As we eliminate bowlers coming down to that big payday, $1,000 to the winner of the men's ladder.
Steve Vadney now looking for his second mark of the string. Have a spare back in the second box and slides it through.
Boy, he made that one look awful easy. That was a difficult shot with the wood. Some 71 through 7 with a ball to come.
3 or more will give him the lead.
And right through the middle.
Two-pin lead now for Vadney. An 8 for an 84. A 1-pin lead for Vadney through 8.
Well, scores aren't high, but they certainly are close. 1 pin separating both bowlers through 8 frames.
John Maffeo. Left side.
Oh, everything but
9.
the 6. 6-pin refused to go down. 2 choices here. Either play the pin, or he actually can play the wood as long as it's around the red line. Right at it. Just enough to go through the pin and clip the wood and clip the pin at the same time. Spare up in the 9th gives him 93 with a ball to come.
His second mark here in the string. Right side head pin drops 8.
And 101. Now he's going to try to shoot right at the 5-pin, drive the ball through the pin, the dead wood, into the 5-pin, and have the wood take the 4. Just like that. Nice spare. Spare up in a 10th.
So easy here in the booth, huh?
Yeah, we don't miss too many shots up here. It's a challenging game, though. So after the show, why don't you take your family, take them down to one of the bowling centers nearest you. And it's disappointing. 113. Great family sport. Let's take a look at Steve Vadney's last mark. Played the wood effectively. That's a tough shot. Now we're back live. There's a big 9-pin drop, leaves the 4-pin. Most of the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association, or in fact all of them, are air conditioned. So as we get into the summer months, on down, bowl, cool off, and bowl a few games.
The ball comes bouncing back. He had to play that just about perfect and couldn't slide it through. On the left side, lost a spare opportunity and has to settle for a 9. Trails by 8, 93 through 9. Steve Vadney in the 10th box of string 1. Left side. Spare opportunity.
Oh. 3, 9, and 10.
Still waiting for a pin to settle.
Everything but at the 9. So he's going to find himself behind, but picks this one up. It'll be a mere 10 pins going into the second game. Make it 11. 102 for Steve Vadney. 113. At 11 pin. Yeah, 11 pins.
It's early yet, and we're
still
still finding problems with these things right here, right?
That's right. It's
just
get
rid of all of them.
Yeah, it should just, yeah.
So John Maffeo, 113 to 102 for Steve Vadney here in string number 1. We're going to be spinning the wheel here in a couple of minutes. $53 is in the jackpot. And again, we ask you every week to send in a postcard to Yankee Championship Bowling at 8 Commercial Street, Concord, New Hampshire, 0. Botwell's Bowling Center. I'm Mike Dion. Dan Murphy is down by the wheel with John Maffeo, getting ready to give away $53 and a gift certificate to Shaw's Supermarkets, as John has an 11-pin advantage at the end of one string, a 113 to a 102 that was bowled by Steve Vadney. For John, he had 3 marks in that first string, and oddly enough, 2 of them coming in the 9th and 10th. And for Steve Vadney, he had a mark in the 2nd and the 7th, but unfortunately had poor fills of only 5 on his 2 opportunities. So it's an 11-pin advantage at the end of one string here on Yankee Championship Bowling. And again, quickly send those postcards in as the barrel continues to fill week after week, as we are reaching almost 500,000 homes here in the state of New Hampshire. So if you can't pick up Yankee Championship Bowling, call your cable company and ask them why not, from Botwell's right here in Concord, New Hampshire. Time to go down to the wheel now, and here's Dan with John.
Okay, $53, John. Let's see if we can have a winner here. Okay, if you could throw one ball for me on lane 19. And Blanche Bovair of Suncook, New Hampshire. Oh, Blanche, possibly $53 coming your way. And make it 8. So, Blanche, you get a minimum of $8 coming your way. And if, well, maybe this is an omen. It's on 8 already. Let's see if we can get another 8, John. Thank you. Not quite. We're going to add $6 more. We'll make it $59 between the second and third games. And Blanche, we're going to send you a gift certificate for $8, compliments of Shaw's Supermarket and Yankee Championship Bowling, and you can enjoy that. Keep sending those postcards in. We'll take a few short breaks, and we'll be right back with second string action. Don't go away.
Second string action, Steve Vadney here at Botwell's Bowling Center on Yankee Championship Bowling. Opened up with a 102. Trails only by 11 pins, though.
Yeah, the bad news is the 102. The good news is he's only down by 11.
Another thing, 2 marks, too, Dan, and only 5 fills on each.
On both of them.
And he opens with an 8 box here in string number 2, like he did to open up the match. Again, both bowlers with an average of 125. Punches out 2. Do you get to a point, too, where alleys are hot for a while and then they go cold?
No, not.
Let's say the whole house. We'll put you on the spot.
Not really. And well, I say not really. I think it's a very hard thing to judge. You know, bowlers are a strange crew, and they'll blame on everything, the pins, the lanes, everything, as opposed to blaming themselves, which I guess is the same in any sport. You know, if the guy hasn't hit the baseball, it's the park isn't lit well enough, or the center field bleachers are too bright, or somebody can't pick the ball up. You know, athletes are funny people. They don't blame themselves, you know.
They're similar, bowlers are, to wrestlers, that they're banging their heads in the alley there before they come out and jump in the ring. And
yeah, I wonder what wrestlers say. I had a bad night out there tonight.
John Maffeo, who had himself a 113, and he has to be disappointed as well. He had a mark in that 10th box, but only filled it with a 2.
I have found that the better candlepin bowlers are the ones that complain the less about the equipment or the lanes or the lane conditions, because those bowlers, I think, realize that it's their ability, and they can't do it day in and day out. I think it's good. The pin that we're talking about, but Mike Poulin just loves to run down and jump over those lights. Take a tough look at this.
He gets right down in there, doesn't he?
Watch the light, Mike.
Does he know he's not getting paid for this?
I don't know. Well, so both bowlers have gone by single pins. In fact, I think Steve Vadney has missed 2 single pins for spares. Get 10 and a 19. So John increases his lead by 3. So I can call him Maffeo. You can call him whatever you want because he says you're saying it the Italian pronunciation, so you're absolutely right.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. I asked him the lucky rolls.
Maffeo? Maffeo.
I call him Maffeo. I think, I don't know, maybe you should check. You had 3 pronunciations. So.
Yeah, we had multiple choice.
Yeah.
There was 3. And
yeah, well, he doesn't get mad, he says. I breathe a sigh of relief.
It's a good thing.
It's
much bigger than I am.
9 and 25 through 3. Steve Vadney. Gotta take it up a notch a little bit here. Steve has his problems so far. And interesting lead. 2, 5, and 9.
But we may get a phone call from one of our viewers.
Yeah.
Can't you ever get the names correct?
Yeah.
There's a mark, the first one of string number 2 for Vadney.
You're ready.
John Maffeo. Outside.
Ooh.
Another single pin lead.
It's just what you like. You just missed 1 single, you come right back with another 9-pin drop. And this time he converts it for a spare in the 3rd.
His 4th mark overall. A little bit too full.
A lot too full. Fine fill. Right through the middle. Leaves himself the 3-6 on the right, 2-4-7 on the left. And if it was me, I'd go after the 3-6.
Well, I try to be kind, and you're very bold about it. See, these people get to see these on the replay.
That's right.
At home. And
watch out what we say, huh? Especially the big fellas.
44 through John, through 4.
We try to call us.
Here it comes. I can hear it now. Yeah.
Strike a strike.
Dan has a tendency to really lay it on kind of thick.
Well, you want to go in front of the cameras and lights, you got to pay the price.
A 6 on the mark for Steve Vadney. Oh, nice shot.
Great shot. 2 in a row for Steve Vadney.
We should have a replay of one of those coming up shortly.
Right back in the pocket, but this time he's looking at the 2, 4, 6, and 10.
And Steve himself was looking for better results.
Yeah, just a hair too full on the head pin that time. Oh, yes!
Oh, another great shot.
3 in a row.
By Steve Vadney.
Great shot. Turkey time. That turkey should say, all right, superlative, Steve. But
here's a shot of one of those 3.
2-pin last one to go down. That was a great shot on the 2, 4, 6, and 10. Wood locks up nicely behind the 1 and 2 for John. 1, 2, 4, 7, and the 9.
So Maffeo now has his work cut out for him. Probably got a little bit too much of that dead wood. And a 10 box.
So Steve has now gained the lead in this game by 3. Still down by 8 in the match, but he's got a mark working in the 6th.
And I'm sure when he does come up again, he wants to improve on his fill on his marks. He's had a couple of 5s and a couple of 6s.
Oh, nice try by John. Everything but the 5-pin. So Steve is going to have a chance to gain the lead with a decent fill on his spare. Make it 10 and 64.
4 10s in this string for John Maffeo. And Steve Vadney now working on 3 marks in a row. 67 plus a ball. Oh, he's right there again. Boy, a couple of his hits, Dan. He deserves better than what he's been left with.
One of those things. That was a decent hit, as you say, in the 1-3 pocket. But nice try again on a spare. Steve's really had to work for his spares.
And he's become very animated as well. 10 bucks.
So that pulls him within 1 pin. He's leading by 10 in this game. He's found himself down by 11 after the first game. The diamond lead, 3, 5, 6, and 9.
Nice shot.
Makes another tough mark.
Again, the concentration level that you have to be at to perform the way Steve is today, at least here the last 5 boxes. Boy, John Maffeo has himself a great opportunity here to get back.
He converts. 74 through 7 with a ball to come for John Maffeo.
Had an 11-pin lead coming in with a 113 in string number 1. Working here in the 7th. Fills it with a 6. Has a 7-pin lead in the match. Up against a mark. Again, Yankee Championship Bowling is being brought to you by Ken Carpenter Ford at the junction of routes 202 and 9 in Hillsborough. Great service and value. Stop by Ken Carpenter Ford. Have you driven a Ford lately? A 10 bucks and a 90 for John Maffeo through 8. 94 plus a ball for Vadney here in the 9th.
Well, 7 fill. He can tie the match up.
Oh, better than that.
It's going to be up by a couple now.
Another opportunity.
He's missed a couple singles. Let's see how he handles this one. And again, it's got to start thinking about him now. I don't care who you are and how many years you've been bowling. You start missing a few singles. You begin to think about him every time you get him in front of you.
Steve wasn't too pleased with himself. Came close to knocking himself out, but not quite. You start banging yourself in the forehead.
Ouch. 1, 8, and 9. Spread eagle plus the 5-pin in the middle, which if you have to shoot the spread eagle, I'd just soon have the 5-pin in there. Now you see why. He gets a little kick off the 5-pin. So he's going to improve. His second game is going to be over 120. He's 121 already. And could have the lead, depending on what John Maffeo does the last 2 frames.
123 for Steve. And a 2-string total of 225. We coincide with one another. That's a major break. Here's John with a big ball.
Big strike. He finished with 2 marks the first game in the 9th and 10th frames. And looks like he's going to try to do the same thing. Trying to maintain that lead. Finds himself down by 2, but he can regain the lead now.
Looking for back-to-back strikes, and it won't happen here. Oh, will it?
Closer than we originally thought. That was a big break. This could be a big mark. Big swing here in the last 2 boxes. And he gets it. Let's take a look at that strike. That was a quick one. Good extension. Pretty good follow-through by John. And definitely a good result. Well, big swing here. Steve Vadney missing the single pin in the 9th. And John coming back with a strike in the 9th and a spare in the 10th. And a big 9 fill on the spare. Gives him a 2-string total of 242 to Steve Vadney's 225. So it's a 17-pin lead for John, which had actually lost the lead there partway through that second game, but he was able to come back with 39 pins the last 2 frames to regain the lead.
And when you're in a close match, you got to pick up those single pins. That's right. It goes without question.
I think Steve is going to look back on those, especially the one in the ninth box in the last game, this second game.
So we've got one string to go, and we have ourselves a tight one, a 17-pin lead for John Maffeo. And when we come back to Botwell's Bowling Center, $59 is in the jackpot.
To spin right on the air here without knocking it off the table here, just so people know we do spin this. Okay, $59, Steve. Let's see if we can win some money for someone. You throw one ball for me on lane 19. Harvey Goss of Pennacook, New Hampshire. Oh, Harvey. Let's see if we can win you $59. Well, Harvey, you're going to get a minimum of $5, but if Steve can throw a 4 or spin a 4, he doesn't want to throw any more 4s. 4 going to make it up here? No, we're going to add $2. So in next week's show, it'll be up to $61. Remember, send those postcards in. Let's see some postcards from the Rochester area or Nashua. We haven't seen too many Nashua cards in. Send those cards in. It's the only way you can win. We'll be back with the final string after these messages. Don't go away.
Dan Murphy back at Botwell's Bowling Center in Concord, New Hampshire. String number 3.
Did you notice how the truck in unison says 5, 4, 3?
Yeah,
they're really great. Early, Steve Vadney, same thing, trying to get back into the match.
Boy, he's bailed himself out in each of the first 2 strings on the 9th and 10th.
Interesting choice here. Does he go after the 4-7, or does he go for the head pin and try to get 3 or 4 of them? Pretty good choice. Pretty good choice. 9 and 16 after 2.
For Steve Vadney at a 123 and a 102, trailing by 17 at the outset, has the door open for the meantime as he steps up on lane 20.
Horseman in the 9. Low-scoring match, but it's been going back and forth. Both bowlers have had the lead at one time or another.
An 8. That's the way he started each string. And again, the winner of this match will be bowling against Mike Poulin of Hudson, New Hampshire, next week here on Yankee Championship Bowling. 2 falls, Steve.
Just looking back over the scores, those the 9th and 10th frames for John Maffeo have been devastating. Spare 8, spare 2 the first game. Second game, strike in the 9th, spare in the 10th with a 9 fill. A lot of pins those last 2 frames.
A good way to set yourself up mentally going into the next string.
Exactly. So 9. Steve has picked up 1 pin, 17 to 16 after 2.
Again,
lead is 16.
Yankee Championship Bowling is being brought to you by Shaw's Supermarket, your total shopping location with a great deli, bakery, and video rental.
Not much to show for the hit there for John Maffeo. He's got the 2, 5, 8, and the 10.
Now, John isn't ready to crank it up yet. He's waiting for the 9th and 10th again. But for his sake, he's hoping that he doesn't have to wait that long for anything to happen. He'll be put in a position where he's got to make something happen that late in the match. Settles for a 9. And a 25 through 3.
Well, got a chance here. 5 and 8. Looking for our first mark of the 3rd game. Sliding by the 5 pin, so Steve Vadney breathes a sigh of relief. 2 more open frames for him to work on. And that's what John wanted to do. Well, spinning well. 35 through 4. Steve Vadney for his 3rd and 4th.
And you'll notice the bowlers are bowling back-to-back boxes on the same alley. That being that we are trying to stretch our time a little bit.
Everything but the 7 pin. Chance for Steve to pick up a mark.
As a bowler, does that bother you at all? Bowling twice on the same lane?
Not really. Sometimes if you're going good, you have a chance to go over and not even wait for the pins to reset, you're already ready to go in the other lane. But I don't think these balls won't bother him too much.
Well, a mark up in the third now for Steve Vadney.
Lead is down to 15 now, as he's opposite a 9 frame. Chance to cut into it some more. Oh, right through the middle. Pins is the deficit facing Steve Vadney now, but he's going to have to come out with a 10 box or he's going to lose a little ground. He's going to lose quite a few. So the lead is back to 16. So really, even with a spare, he had a total of 19 pins in those 2 frames, as did John Maffeo, without the benefit of a mark. Amen to that one.
If we get a chance to see this on replay,
we'll have to slow it way down.
Don't blink. As John buries it. That's his second strike of the match.
John is thankful it's on a strike also.
That's
spare.
Prettier.
That could just about, well, definitely puts a lot of pressure on. Let's look at that strike. It's a quick one. Wow.
And his mark on top of that strike went down just as fast. Steve Vadney with his work cut out for him now in the 5th.
Oh, boy. 1 in the 5.
Not a pretty sight for Steve.
No, not when he's facing a strike spare. Threatening to push the lead close to 30 pins.
On top of that, you have 2 balls left to throw, and now you have to think, you know, realistically, there's no mark here, so you start to think ahead of the next box. And
another 6 frame.
42. Followed by 30.
30 pins now. It's ballooned from 16 to 30 in a matter of one frame. Now he's still opposite a spare by John.
Will it? Now he's got a pin sitting right in front on the deck. See if it causes any problems.
Oh boy, went a little too far right, spun the wood around the 6-pin. Just not Steve Vadney's day. 51 through 6. 65. And a ball to come for John. Right back in the pocket. 8 drop. 73. Tough leave. 3-6. Almost got to cap the wood. Unless he hits the wood, it comes off the wall. But, well, we'll buy everything.
An 8 box and an 81 through 7 for John Maffeo. You go back at some of the single pins that Steve has missed. Then that last box for him really put the capper on it.
That looked like a good ball going in the pocket for John. Believes himself to 6-7. He's going to try to cut the 6 on the right-hand side, throw it across into the 7. Yeah, that and disappointing fills for Steve. He had all, and he didn't have a strike. He had a 9 fill and 1 spare 7, but then he had 2 6s, 2 5s, and a 3. Well, there's still light at the end of the tunnel, but not very much. Steve is going to have to put some marks up now.
Again, Yankee Championship Bowling is being brought to you by Shaw's Supermarket. They have great everyday low prices, and they are open 24 hours a day. And while you're there, you can pick up your Mega Bucks tickets at Shaw's Supermarket. Oh, big strike right there.
That's what the doctor ordered. You'd like nothing more to throw a double. Realistically, he's going to have to mark out, assuming John is not going to get any more marks, but I think he's really thinking double strike. It's pretty good going in.
He's got it.
Hey, there is a double. Well, let's take a look at the first strike, and this could change the match drastically here. or dramatically, I should say, is there's the first strike of Steve Vadney's. Finding himself down, I think, by 39.
Let's see if that shook up John Maffeo any. Here in the ninth. This is where he's been very successful in the first two strings. Could be a shot for Vadney when he comes up in 9 and 10. Our mathematician right here with his abacus going to work. 9 box.
Okay, big last box for John Maffeo. Like nothing more to put a mark up.
The winner advances next week to take on Mike Poulin.
I got a shot at the 2, 4, and 5. There's some wood in between the 2 and the 5.
He's got it.
And that's a big mark in the 10th. Where he was leading by 17 pins coming in.
I'll just wait till they're finished before I add them up.
And that's a pretty good drop. A 9 fill and a 118. So it's a 135 needed by Steve Vadney to tie, a 136 to win.
And a 360, the 3 strings for John Maffeo. Working on a double strike.
This is probably the biggest ball of the match right here. Well, 6. Still needs another mark.
Got it.
Oh, spare up on the strike. There's the turkey. Still needs another mark. A big fill and another mark.
The turkey bows when it comes out too, doesn't it? At the end, like a little curtsy. I notice that. I pick up those little things. Big ball for Vadney.
Okay, he needs this and a strike on it for a tie. No, it's not going to happen. So Steve Vadney made a run at him. And John was holding his breath, but that was a big mark in the last frame by John Maffeo. Obviously, to force Steve into a double mark situation in the end, but he came up with a 124 and 349, so it's 11-pin victory for John Maffeo, but it was a lot closer than that, and Steve really needed to pick up that 8-pin drop and then throw a strike on it to tie.
Well, the unfortunate thing about a match like this, now you're going to go home and start thinking 3 or 4 boxes could have been the difference. I missed a couple of single pins, didn't get a break when he had 2, and he had the wood that was in front, went a little bit to the right, and then that one here in the 9th, in the 10th, excuse me, and those are the things. Sometimes you'd rather get beat by 40, 45 than lose when you really had an opportunity.
Yeah, you don't want to have the opportunities yourself and get beat. You'd rather have the person just, you both decent and the other fellow just plain out beat you. But today, Steve can look back on naturally the single pins, but John missed a few easy ones too. So it's hard, but Steve's been through the wars before and he realizes that day in, day out, anything can happen. And on the other side of the coin, John Maffeo, the last 2 boxes of each game is a tremendous amount of pins there. And right at the end when he really needed it, especially the second game when Steve actually had grabbed the lead from him, he came back with a strike and a spare.
Yeah, especially here in the 3rd string when he needed that spare, and that was the difference. Steve needing his, John had already gotten his, and it just didn't work out. So a 360 for John Maffeo and a 349 for Steve Vadney. John will now take on Mike Poulin next week here on Yankee Championship Bowling. We'll be back with some closing comments from Botwell's Bowling Center in Concord, New Hampshire, right after this.
Okay, if you missed it, it was an exciting match. 360 for John Maffeo of Goffstown defeating Steve Vadney of Claremont with a 349. 8 marks for Steve Vadney, including that all-important double strike, which almost brought him out to the victory. But I guess you can look back at the double strike and the first ball being a 6, really put Steve into a situation where he needed a real big mark in the 10th, but wasn't able to come up with it. So John Maffeo will take on Mike Poulin next week. For a few closing comments from the bowlers, I'm going to throw it down to Mike Dion. Mike?
Oh, okay, we're back. Okay, we're just discussing things here with John Maffeo and Steve Vadney. And first of all, we'll talk to Steve. A real tough match for you to lose. And we were talking before we came on here at the end. You're going to be scratching your head tonight. 3 single pins plus a tough break there in the 9th.
Yeah. Well, it's tough to come back that many in the last 4 or 5 boxes. Like you say, the single pins I missed, I think, was the deciding factor in the match.
Well, I think it's gratifying from your standpoint, back-to-back strikes in that 3rd string, and gave you some confidence. And then when John opened in the 9th, and he got back and got a big spare.
Yeah, he had a big mark in the 10th, which, kind of closed the door a little bit, too. I had to get my spare and strike the tie in the 10th, which, we don't know.
Again, it all comes down to single pins, very, very important. Steve, tough luck for you today, but we'll see you sometime in the future here on Yankee Championship Bowling.
Okay.
Steve Vadney dropping a match here today to John Maffeo. I guess I'm pronouncing it correctly, but we'll hear from some of our viewers, I'm sure. I'll tell you, the 9th and 10th box is very big for you today.
I'm just lucky, that's all.
Oh, it's more than luck, because you came back there in the 3rd string there in the 10th and really needed it when he made a charge. And I don't know, were you rattled when you went up there in the 9th, looking at the scoreboard, knowing maybe he's going to come back?
Yeah, the narrow escape. Felt I had to get at least 1 big mark and didn't want to save it for the 10th. I wanted to get something in the 9th, and I didn't. I was all shook up.
Well, at least it gives you some incentive, too, when you're going into that next string with those big marks in the 9th and 10th.
It's better to be up than down.
So now you have an 11-pin advantage here, winning over Steve today. You come back next week against Mike Poulin. He bowled very, very well last week.
I'll be looking forward to meeting him. Never bowled him before.
Okay, so we're going to have a big guy and a little guy, but both of them very, very successful here on the lanes at Botwell's. We're going to send it quick.
Mike Poulin, of course, won a couple weeks ago over Bruce Young. Both bowlers will defend their championships against each other, so that should be an exciting match. We're moving on. Don't forget, May 14th, we're taping The Children here.